My husband called me worthless in court the same morning the judge opened the envelope. I had hidden for nearly 8 years. "She's nothing without me," Daniel said loudly enough for everyone in the courtroom to hear. "She never built anything. She just lived off what I created." A few people shifted in their seats. His attorney didn't stop him. The woman sitting behind him, his girlfriend, smiled. I stayed quiet, because the envelope inside my purse contained something Daniel had forgotten existed. And once the judge saw it, everything he believed about our marriage was going to change. My name is Emily Parker. I'm 34 years old. And when my divorce hearing began in Cook County, Illinois, my husband was already celebrating a victory he hadn't earned. 8 years earlier, I would have believed every cruel word he said about me. Worthless, unimportant, replaceable. But people don't keep certain things for years unless they know one day the truth might matter. I didn't bring that envelope to destroy Daniel. I brought it because I was finally done letting someone else decide what my life had been worth. What Daniel didn't know was that the envelope wasn't holding revenge. It was holding the truth. The envelope wasn't filled with threats, accusations, or emotional speeches. It contained something far more powerful, the truth, written in Ethan's own handwriting. 8 years earlier, we were living in a small apartment on the outskirts of Denver. His software startup was on the edge of bankruptcy. Investors had backed out, bills were piling up, and every morning he woke up wondering if he should shut the company down for good. I was the only one with a steady paycheck. As a senior accountant, I worked long hours, accepted every overtime shift I could get, and quietly paid our mortgage, groceries, insurance, and utilities without ever making him feel guilty. More than once, I emptied my personal savings to cover his company's payroll because I couldn't bear the thought of his employees losing their jobs. I never considered it my money. I believed it was our dream. One cold November night, Ethan came home looking completely defeated. His shirt was soaked from the rain, and he collapsed into a chair without saying a word. "I failed," he whispered. I sat beside him, held his hand, and reminded him why he had started the company in the first place. We talked until nearly sunrise. Before going to bed, he disappeared into his office. A few minutes later, he returned holding a cream-colored envelope. "I need you to keep this," he said. Confused, I looked at him. "What is it?" "A promise," he replied. He explained that if success ever changed him, if he ever became so blinded by money that he forgot who had stood beside him during the hardest years, he wanted me to have proof of the truth. Inside was a handwritten letter. Every page described the sacrifices I had made, every financial transfer, every late night, every dream I postponed so he could chase his. At the very end, he wrote one sentence I never forgot. "Everything I build belongs to both of us, because without you, none of it would exist." I sealed the envelope exactly as he asked and placed it in my safe. Years passed. His company became worth millions. The humble man I married slowly disappeared, replaced by someone who believed success had erased the past. He forgot that letter. He forgot the promises. But I never did. And as I watched him call me worthless in that courtroom, I realized the only person who needed to hear his own words was the judge sitting a few feet away. Sarah quietly carried the sealed envelope to the clerk, who handed it to Judge Whitmore without a single word. The courtroom became so silent I could hear papers shifting. Ethan didn't seem worried. He leaned back in his chair with the confidence of someone who believed the case had already been won. His girlfriend smiled at me again. She had no idea what was inside that envelope. Neither did anyone else. The judge carefully broke the old seal and unfolded the first page. His eyes moved slowly across the handwritten lines. Then he stopped. He read one paragraph again. His expression changed. The confidence in the courtroom disappeared. He looked directly at Ethan. "Mr. Bennett," he said calmly, "did you write this letter?" Ethan frowned. His attorney immediately stood. "Your Honor, may I first review the document?" The judge nodded and handed it over. Only a few seconds passed before Ethan's attorney's face lost all color. He whispered something urgently into Ethan's ear. For the first time that morning, Ethan looked nervous. The judge waited patiently before speaking again. "This letter clearly states that Mrs. Bennett personally financed your company during its most difficult years. It also acknowledges that many of the business assets were built with her financial support." The judge picked up another document already submitted as evidence. According to the bank records, there are multiple transfers from Mrs. Bennett's personal account into your business account during the same period described in this letter. He looked at Ethan again. Were these statements true when you wrote them? The room fell completely silent. Ethan opened his mouth, but no words came out. His attorney quietly lowered his eyes. The judge continued reading. Every sentence matched another financial record. Every promise Ethan had written years earlier matched emails, bank statements, tax filings, and loan documents already included in discovery. The handwritten letter wasn't standing alone. It was supported by years of undeniable evidence. The judge gently placed the final page on the bench. This, he said, looking at both legal teams, is no longer a question of opinion. He paused before adding the words that changed everything. It is now a question of documented fact. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. After everything we'd been through, there was nothing joyful about proving the man I once loved had lied under oath. But for the first time in years, the truth no longer belonged only to me. Now, it belonged to the court. The judge postponed his final decision for 3 weeks and ordered a complete financial review. During that time, forensic accountants examined every bank statement, tax return, loan agreement, email, and company records submitted by both sides. I didn't spend those weeks hoping Ethan would lose. I spent them hoping the truth wouldn't be ignored. When we returned to the courthouse in Denver, the atmosphere was completely different. The confidence Ethan had carried into the first hearing was gone. He avoided looking at me. Even his attorney seemed unusually quiet. Judge Whitmore opened the final report and adjusted his glasses. The court-appointed financial review confirms that Mrs. Bennett made substantial and well-documented financial contributions during the company's earliest and most critical years. He turned another page. It also confirms that Mr. Bennett's previous testimony failed to accurately reflect those contributions. No one spoke. The silence in the courtroom said more than any argument ever could. The marital assets, the judge continued, will be divided according to the verified evidence and the applicable law. That was all. No dramatic speech, no applause, no revenge, just justice. As everyone began leaving the courtroom, Ethan remained seated. After several moments, he slowly walked toward me. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said quietly. Somewhere along the way, I convinced myself I had built everything alone. Success made me forget who carried me when I couldn't stand on my own. His voice cracked for the first time. I'm sorry. I looked at the man I had once believed I would grow old with. I never kept that envelope to destroy you, I said calmly. I kept it because I hoped I'd never need it. He lowered his head. I know. I wished him peace and walked away. A few months later, I used my share of the settlement to open my own financial consulting firm, helping small family businesses avoid the mistakes that had broken mine. People often ask if winning the case was the best part of my story. It wasn't. The greatest victory wasn't the settlement or the judge's decision. It was finally understanding that my worth had never depended on my husband's opinion. The envelope didn't create the truth. It simply reminded the world of something I had almost forgotten myself. I was never worthless. I was the foundation he built his success on.